episode 17. Where does the time go? Feels like just yesterday we're at episode 1. It was actually just a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, but guys, I'm having fun with this process. I've been loving it and super thankful and honored with your guys' support, both during here and afterwards. It means a whole lot. If you're hearing live, drop me a live and let me know whatever platform that you're on. I want to shout you out. I want to say hi. And you know the drill. If you got either your cold brew in hand or you had your coffee today, drop some fire emojis in. Slightly behind on my caffeine intake, but I had a good amount with my pre-workout at 5:45 this morning. So I'll be all right, I think. We're talking about follow-up today. And this is a spot a lot of you guys are losing deals and getting people to drop off in your pipeline and kind of not even getting to the point if people wanted to book a call with you or do any of that stuff. And so I want to share with you guys what I've learned over my coaching journey, how we do this to get clients way over in the program. And you're going to walk away with some scripts and some no-nos that you can just stop doing. So if you have follow-ups to do today, wait until the end of this episode because you're going to save face by watching this. We're going to get started in just under 40 seconds. And then we'll get into the formal recording of the podcast. And reminder, the podcast is now in iTunes. It's up in Spotify, whatever player you're using, Google, pretty much all of them, Stitcher. Search client by client, search Jeremy Montoya, search What Up Jeremy, whatever the case. That way you can listen while you're getting your steps in on the treadmill like I do when I'm listening to podcasts or when you're cooking or doing the dishes or whenever it is you're getting that in. You can make it a part of your routine and you'll just be queued up and ready to go. So let's hop in and let's bring this to life because I have a call in 20 minutes with the Get Clients students because it's Wednesday. So let's hop in and let's bring this to life. Hey, what's up? Jeremy here from whatupjeremy.com, back with another episode of Client by Client. In today's episode, what we're going to be talking about is how to never follow up the wrong way again. So if you have some follow-ups in your pipeline, wait until the end of listening to today's episode to do them because you'll be able to avoid common mistakes and you'll have some stellar follow-ups that just nail the goal and just hit the nail on the head with the hammer for your follow-ups and for reactivating even cold leads. This will work as well. And so I'm going to show you all the mistakes and talk about what to not do whenever you're following up as an online coach. In the last episode of Client by Client, I shared with you how to audit your pipeline and uncover 20K or more in revenue. So if you've been coaching for at least a year, you've been following up with people and you've been getting clients, what I want to show you is where you might have some cracks in your pipeline and where you might be losing leads and what to do if revenue's ever running dry so that you can get a fresh injection of cash and clients into your online business. So backtrack one episode and check out episode 16, and I give you all the goods on how to audit your pipeline and unlock revenue that's just laying around and how you can get clients that might have gone to your competitors and circle back with people who maybe didn't make the investment in joining your program when they initially had a conversation with you. But in today's episode, I want to share with you how to never follow up the wrong way again. And so if you're listening to this episode, a subscriber of this episode, you're one of my friends, you're one of my students, by the end of this episode, you're going to know exactly what not to do when it comes to following up and what to do so that you actually hit your goal of reactivating a conversation and getting a client through your follow-ups. If you don't get today's episode right, there are two things that happens. The first thing that happens is that your prospects ghost you. And a lot of times we don't know it, but we set our prospects up to ghost us in the words that we use and in the frame that we create in each conversation. And so the last thing that I want is you doing all of this work. You got your GetBookedCRM set up. You've made a super juicy offer. You got some leads in the pipeline, and then nobody signs up and your prospects start to ghost you and they start to just kind of go invisible. So the first thing that happens is that your prospects start to ghost you, and this is totally preventable, and chances are it's happening in the language that you're using when you're talking with your leads and with your prospects. The second thing that happens is that you get desperate and your desperation becomes palpable. It's almost like commission breath. Everyone knows you have it besides you. And when you get desperate, number one, you know me, we're putting out the wrong vibes. This, desperation is going to create more desperateness in our reality. So the first thing we have to do is understand how to like not radiate desperateness, because you, although might not know that you're being desperate, and you might not be, but you might be coming off as it in the way that you're following up and the way you're engaging with your leads. So first thing that happens is that your prospects ghost you. And the second thing that happens is that you start to get desperate, and that comes off in every communication. That starts to come off in every piece of content. And you create a reality where you attract more situations where the common circumstances and scenarios are you being desperate. So let's talk about what we want to do instead and start to just give you these goods on following up and keep you from ever following up the wrong way again. The first thing that you need to know is that your follow-up starts with the last message that you sent. I see a lot of coaches making the mistake of saying something like, when they do go to follow-up, they say, hey, circling back. Or they say, hey, just checking in. And those are two follow-ups you want to eradicate from your vocabulary, eradicate from your system, eradicate from your lead flow. And what you need to start understanding is that whatever message you last left them with in the DM or in your email replies, that's where the follow-up actually starts. A couple examples. Let's say that you're booking calls and you have a prospect who they raise their hand to your call to action. They DM'd you the word. They're going back and forth with you. They're open to some help. You've teed up the call, meaning you've said, are you open to some help? They said yes. And then you started to tee up the call by saying, okay, here's what I was thinking. Let's brainstorm a plan and hop on a call. If it's all right with you, I can give you my link, because everything's permission-based that we do, right? They're going to respond and say, yes, give me the link. So that you have their permission, you go grab your calendar link that should be programmed in your phone. You count to 60 or something like that, and then you send it over. And then when you send the link, what the mistake most coaches make already in this is that they just put the link in there and expect the prospect to go and book. But you have to remember how much noise you're competing against as an online coach in 2023. And in 2024 or in 2025, if you're listening to this in the future, because it's only going to get noisier. There are more distractions and more competition for your prospects' attention than there have ever been. For instance, I don't spend all day on Instagram personally. When I do, it's in the like cracks of my day. So I might be at Starbucks, right? Getting my cold brew. I might be in line and kind of like checking things real quick, quick scroll, checking the DM, make sure there's nothing pressing. And then I might get into a message with one of you guys, and I'm so guilty of this. And then the barista has, they yell next. And my attention immediately goes to what's more important in front of me, which is this other human and me getting my cold brew coffee. And so I put my phone in my pocket, and I might never go back to it. And it might be later in the day and the app's already closed out on my iPhone, even though it's the biggest and the best and it has all the memory and the speed, it might close out Instagram. I might not come back to that. Instagram might refresh the app when I go into it so that it presents me with information to keep and hold my attention. And so that's just one example of your prospect's environment. They have whatever else is going on around them with their personal life, their family life, their business, other fires that they're putting out, and they have you in their perception pitching them in the DM. So what you can't do is just send them the link to go and book your call in this example. You need to hold their hand, walk them home, and tuck them in. You need to make sure they get home okay. You make sure that they're safe. You watch them go in the door. And the way that you do this by not coming off as let me hold your hand is you give them the next steps and the directions. So you put the link in Messenger or in the DM or in your email response, and you say something, and here's just what I say. I say, there's the link. Go now and find a time that works best for you, and then message me here so I know that we're all locked in. Cool? So I've sent the link and I sent them the next steps, and they're either going to just go and book and not message me back, which I'm okay with. They booked the call. They're going to say, hey, I'm busy right now. Totally cool. Or they're going to say, okay, got it. And then they're not going to book the call. And therefore now I have a reason to go back and circle in and follow up. So that's one example that you need to let them know what to do so that when you follow back up, you're not saying something like, hey, just checking in, something like that. In this situation, you might say something like, hey, did you find a time okay? Or you might message back and say, hey, I only have a couple slots left. Be sure to get locked in and hit me up here so I know we're good, or something like that. You can even take it a step further, and I use this a lot more at this time in my business, I don't do sales calls. We sell completely through the DM. But what I'll do when I send the details for the program over that has everything about the program and the investment and some drawings of the models that we're going to be implementing together and kind of what's coming up and what I'm matching to their needs that they've let me know already in the DM. I'm trying to be thorough with my description so you guys can hopefully follow this even more closely and have more context. I'll give the document details and then I'll say something like, there it is. Go there now and have a read, and then let me know here, I'm in or out, or with any questions, of course, smiley emoji. I might break that up into 1, 2, or 3 messages. That's just how I text. That's how I message. And then they're going to respond back and say, okay, or they're going to go and read it and then message me the next step. And now I don't have to follow up. So part of the art of the follow-up is like not needing the follow-up, is you give the next steps and the directions. And then there are some things that you can do to actually follow up that we're going to talk about here in a second. The first thing that you need to know is that the follow-up starts with the last correspondence you had with them. And if you're just giving the link to book a call or the link to join your program and you're not giving the next steps, then maybe you need to be a little bit more thorough, and that this can kind of just tighten things up so that you don't have to be following up as much. If this gets you 1 or 2 more deals or booked calls this week or this month, this mentality has already paid off for itself, because now you're chasing around less tire kickers, chasing around less people in general. You're radiating that desperation a little bit less. You're starting to step into abundance. And then now you have a script that you can always send every time you do this so that you don't have to follow up all weird again. The second thing is a little bit logistical. And this is because there are very few things that are in our control as online coaches. Very few things that are in our control in life. You can probably count them on one hand, if not less. But one of the things you can control when it comes to sales and pipeline is your system and the response time inside of it, and how often you follow up and how you follow up. These are all things in your control, which is usually the first thing that we touch on when it comes to the sales aspect of your business and in the messaging aspect, because you can tighten this up and you're going to get people to close sooner, faster, or actually sign up with you versus going somewhere else or letting their problems fester. So the second thing you need to know is that all of your follow-ups should be in a 24-hour time window. Many of you guys are allowing 2, 3, 4 or more days to go by before circling back. And maybe it's because you don't want to seem desperate, but oftentimes you're leaving an impression that you're not hungry for them, or they're taking it as a sign from the universe. That's how a lot of people operate, or a sign from God that you weren't the right coach because you kind of didn't pop up with them again and you didn't circle back. And there's maybe a subconscious feeling there that this actually wasn't the right fit for one reason or another. And those feelings and thoughts and emotions can be fleeting, but they happen, guys, and this will prevent deals from happening. So the first thing you need to do is tighten up your follow-up window. So if you give someone the link to book a call with you to your Calendly, or you're like me and you send them the program details and you have someone who's like about to buy, they're closer than not, you need to be following up within 24 hours and not letting more time go by. You follow this in step number 1 and you give them the instructions, you're going to already be following up less, getting more calls booked and more clients into your program. But there are a few things in your control, and one of them is how long it takes you to respond or to follow up. This is why, guys, I'm such a stickler on you guys, whether it's using GetBookedCRM, the one I made for you guys that's currently free, or anything else, a spreadsheet, sticky notes, whiteboard, whatever it takes to manage your conversations, to not manage them in the inbox, because so much gets lost. And right now you might not have a ton of messages coming in, and so it's easy to keep track, but you never know when one of your pieces of content is going to go viral, or you actually write some sticky copy and it gets in front of the right people and it gets shared out to even more of those people, and now you have a bunch of DMs. And if you're not prepared for that, it can't happen. This is a lot like putting your buckets out before it rains. If it's raining and you're hustling to put your buckets out, you've already missed it. You've already missed your chance. Your buckets need to be out there in preparation for the rain so that it can collect them, and then you're not desperate for the rain when it actually comes. Thing number 2, you're going to tighten up your follow-up to 24 hours, no more. I'm happy with less, but no more than 24 hours in the follow-up. The third thing, so that you never follow up the wrong way ever again, is to actually care. You can care in the way you send your messages, and you can care like even in just that 24-hour window. That's showing that you care. And giving them in number one, we talked about here today, in your last message, the follow-up starts with that last message, your last correspondence. That's caring for them and caring about their results. But when it comes to the actual follow-up messages, I want to give you a couple caring messages that will make people feel like crap if they read them and don't respond, and that will just kind of feel weird and icky for not getting back to you in the first place, because they'll realize that, oh shit, this person cares. Wow, they care more about my results, or they care just as much, or wow, this means a lot. This is the reaction you're going to be creating with these next couple messages. One of my favorite ones, you guys heard me say this in, I believe it was our last episode on auditing your pipeline, where I gave you some more of these messages that you can be sending out depending the stage in your pipeline. So backtrack one if you haven't already, is something like first name question mark, Jeremy question mark. And it's almost like your mom asked you a question and you didn't respond, and they know you know better, and they say your name. They say Billy, right? They say Janet, whatever your name is. Billy's and Janet's, shout out. They just send their first name with a question mark. And what I love about this is that it's short, it's pretty personal, and it's expecting a reply, or spear, as Dean Jackson says it. The second one is something like, is everything okay? If you sent someone the link to book a call or your link to join your program, and they have been very responsive up until that point, and now they are kind of becoming less responsive because they're starting to get closer to making a commitment, and they're getting closer to resistance because their subconscious or themselves have been sabotaging their results, or is more comfortable staying in the lack of result situation that they're in, because misery can get comfortable over time when you get used to it. So what I want you to say is something like, is everything okay? Or you okay? Question mark. And what this implies is that you care about them, because the only person who would ever ask if you're okay, like how few people in your life text you and pull you aside and say, yo, like, you all right? In the best of times and in the worst of times, there are few and far of those people. And those people who've done that in my life, they mean a lot to me because of these small interactions, and because of this looking out for me-ness that I pick up on when this happens. So I want you to reciprocate that, and you lead with that in your conversations. So you can say their first name question mark, or you can say, is everything okay? Or are you okay? And then they'll usually say something back like, gosh, sorry, and they'll confess. They'll say something like, I've just been in this bad situation for so long. I'm skeptical about working with a coach or working with another coach. And now you can address it. The next one is also going to pull some of these types of responses out, because it's going to be addressing the problem at hand and facing it head on, which is the opposite of messages like circling back or just checking in. This one is going to create the effect you actually want. And so what you might say if someone didn't book a call, or maybe they didn't join your program after they said they would, or after you send over the details of the program, you might say something like, hey, I noticed you haven't signed up yet. What's holding you back? Or what's keeping you back? And when you come from that perspective, you're just addressing the situation head on. You're not beating around the bush, because if you say something like, hey, circling back, or just following up, they don't have to reply, or they can reply with anything that doesn't necessarily move the conversation forward. If they reply, then the follow-up did what the follow-up was supposed to do, but you also want it to go beyond that and take it to the next level and show your character, show that you care, show that you're really about this and helping people get results. And this is one of the few opportunities that you can really stand out amongst the other coaches they might be considering, but aren't in a deep conversation considering joining them like they are with you in this very moment. So this is how to avoid following up the wrong way ever again. You got to understand that your follow-up starts with your last message. You got to tighten your follow-ups to be all within a 24-hour window, and you need to actually care and have that come across in the messages and in the follow-ups that you send out. That is today's episode. In tomorrow's episode of Client by Client, I'm going to be sharing with you what is turning your clients into needy customers, and how to avoid creating needy clients and customers, and what to do instead so that you have clients that give you energy, that make your programs better, who are happy, and who, even when you mess up, are totally okay with it and give you some grace. So be sure to tune into that one and backtrack one more to understand how to audit your pipeline and get more of these message samples and scripts that I gave you in today's episode, so that your messaging and your conversations just get stickier, you get more calls, and you get more clients. Whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways I can help you grow your online business. get access to my free CRM for online coaches, and get more leads and turn them into clients in half the time. It's called GetBookedCRM. It was made for online coaches, and it's going to help you feel empowered around leads and help you tighten up that follow-up that we talked about here in today's episode. Just find me on Instagram or Facebook at WhatUpJeremy, and message me the letters CRM or comment that wherever you're watching this. Second, join my free group for online coaches. Join almost 1,000 other online coaches from all over the world who are just a step ahead, at the exact same step as you, or one small baby step behind. To network, access my greatest resources, and even have direct access to me, just comment the word group or message me the word group on Instagram. Second, become my next success story. I'm looking for 3 online coaches right now, but I'm very particular about who I work with, as you should be. So this is only for you if you are a relationship focused coach who always puts the person ahead of the money. Second, you've been coaching for at least 1 year. You would like to get 3 to 5 clients organically every single month from social media without spending money on ads and wasting time. You have at least 300 Facebook or Instagram friends, or members in a group, or subscribers to an email list. You're willing to take bold action because you know that your success is dependent upon you. And lastly, most importantly, you can keep a secret. Then I want for you to comment or message me the words case study. And I'll share with you what we have coming up this month, how we're already helping other students in the Get Clients programs with my mindsets, my methodologies, my frameworks, my models, my tactics and strategies, and what they can do for you and your online business. Just message me the words case study. It also means the world if you've gotten value from today's episode, leave an honest rating and review. I would love to shout you out in an upcoming episode. That's it for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow with another episode of Client by Client. Cheers. Okay, team. I got a call in 3 minutes, so I'm going to take off. Today was lightning fast and very on. We kept a good tempo. So thank you for your help today with that, team. Thanks so much for watching. Drop a comment and say hi, even if we're no longer live, so I can shout you out and just say hey, and I'll be back tomorrow around the same time, same place. Cheers.